Bitcoin not keeping pace very well with our expectations, but could there be a trade in Ondo to Bitcoin? We're going to be getting to all this and more. We've got Crux on today to help me digest it and present the truth behind the Ondo unlock. We'll unpack all of that for you and answer any questions that you may be lingering around Ondo and its unlock schedule. Also be hearing some news from Japan, and their attitude toward Bitcoin may have taken a turn that you weren't expecting. We're going to get into all that and more. Merry Christmas. Let's get all right. Happy Thursday. Crux, how you doing today, my man?
Hey guys, I might be a little bit pixely, but I'm coming in great from Dallas, Texas. Yeah, so I don't have the cool Lux Algo hat that you have, but I do have a Bitcoin shirt. So I'm sporting Bitcoin today. Bitcoin's the move for December 6th, a year with the bros, having fun. So hey, the charts might not be up, but this is a time when you need us the most is talk about crypto and yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we do have a little bit of a pixely Crux, but we have some very important information as it pertains to Ondo and the hot swap on that. So we'll get to it all here in just a few minutes. Before we do, let's get into some Bitcoin TA. Then we'll get into the Ondo thought for the day, and then we'll get into some of the news. Flipping it around today, probably be a little bit of a shorter show as well. So if you have any questions, get those in ASAP for us to address. The dots here, the bubbles for crypto, are decidedly red with one expectation. That's BGB. That's the BitGet token. It looks like they have integrated the BitGet token further into the BitGet ecosystem. So that's been pretty bullish for BitGet. And the PenGu token as well is up 4.2% today. So that's nice to see from the Pudgy Penguins team getting a bid over there. Let's see how it's done over the week. It's had a nice move. So that's good for Pudgy Penguins there. Let's actually look at the weekly bubbles here, because there's a lot more green. When we turn on the weekly and take a look here, we have Pudgy Penguins, the Pudgy Penguins token up 38%, Bonk up 12.4%, Beam up 7.3%, Lido up 13.7%, Ray is one that we've called a while ago, Radium up 11.4% for the week, and Virtuals there doing really nicely, up 34%. Definitely one to get into. Well, you'll see this one right here, though. Ondo, down 14.5%. We're going to camp out on that here in just a few minutes, asking the question, why are investors giving back their Ondo in exchange for other alts? And could there be a pretty hot swap that could boost the price of Bitcoin in the short term? We'll check all that out here in just a few minutes. But let's go ahead and jump over to the Bitcoin charts here. Crux is going to stay with me. Crux, feel free to chime in if you see anything on the charts that you want me to examine further. But as you can see here, Bitcoin has failed to cross above $100,000 per coin. I'm on the daily chart, and as you can see, that has brought us back down into the realm of the smart trail here, just below $96,542, and we are now rocking at the live price of just under $96,000 per coin. Now, of course, I'm going to zoom out and show you all why you shouldn't be long-term bearish at all. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. But in the short term, there's definitely some room for Bitcoin to continue to go to the downside. Let me show you all what I mean by this. So Bitcoin right now has kind of entered into this sideways channel, not too different from what we saw from all throughout this period, where we were in kind of found our high here in March, and then we were sideways, bouncing from around the low 70s down to the mid 50s. You all remember that well, I'm pretty sure. And then but what brought us out of that was the November 5th elections that resulted in Donald Trump successfully winning in the United States, and that sent Bitcoin to all-time highs, closing in on that big psychological level of $100,000. Well, that's about where we're trading now, give or take a couple hundred, give or take a couple thousand. And so my hunch is that we will likely stay similar to the trading from March into the election in early November. I think we'll likely stay in a trading channel until the inauguration. So the inauguration takes place on January 20th, just a couple of days after actually Ondo's unlock on the 18th of January, ironically enough. We'll get into that in just a second. But I do believe that the price action that we've seen so far of a high sweeping up to right around 109, giving us our all-time high for Bitcoin, and then the sweep low down here to 92,100, those mark the parameters of the channel that we'll be in probably into the inauguration. Now I say that's kind of my base case for Bitcoin price, right? We are in the holidays after all, and into the new year, a lot of people kind of tune out. They go, skiing in Colorado. They go and spend time with family, and especially folks who have a lot of money, they're not going to work all year, right? They're going to take off a significant amount of time, and that's going to come with just generally lower volume and potentially less moves, right? Because you have such an important day coming in here, and this is going to be extremely important, especially the 3 days following the inauguration, because Donald Trump has promised to do a lot of things on the first day, right? So whatever he does, the market is going to immediately price those things in, and it's going to be a reprice, my bet, to the upside, right? But there could be potentially a reprice to the downside, depending on what he does in those first couple of days. My bet is that, again, we stay in this channel through the inauguration, and then, like I said, who knows? Sky's the limit. It's kind of up or down from there. It'll be pretty volatile, like we saw during this period of time where we got a binary result. Now the result we'll be getting from the inauguration day won't be so much binary. It'll be how the market interprets the direction and some of the decisions that are actually made by the incoming Trump administration. Okay, so even though I expect us to stay within these channels, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be a moment where we trade outside of the channels. The first, and I would think the more likely outcome for an exception to staying within these trading channels is that we get a flash move to the downside, right? Somewhere around $95,000 per Bitcoin, right? Or potentially we could kind of drift back up and then find some nice support here at, like, say 103, and then see a test higher. But I think that either a test, a quick but extreme test to the upside or the downside would be pretty short-lived, because we're just not getting a lot of big headlines right now moving into the inauguration. Now that could change. There could be some big events that swing Bitcoin to one direction or the other. But for right now, when I'm looking at the daily chart, I'm not seeing a bunch of reason for there to be much volatility outside of these north and south channels. Okay, but let's turn off the Bollinger Bands, which it's trading below that 20-day moving average for the daily and hasn't been able to break above that. You'll notice the Bollinger Band has been the main resistance right there at 99,000, call it 100,000. And so, that Bollinger Band is pretty important because, as you'll see going back again on the daily, we spent a very brief amount of time below that Bollinger Band, the midline of the Bollinger Band, going all the way back to here, which was mid-October. After mid-October, when we were below the midline of the Bollinger Band, we did not stay there very long, as you can see. So the fact that we're printing multiple candlesticks here just kind of tells me that it doesn't mean we're going lower and that we're going to find support somewhere at 80 and then park there and trend there. What it tells me is that we're likely going to park in this channel and just kind of trend there, again, with few exceptions, potentially to the downside or to the upside. But right now, it just makes sense for there to be just general consolidation before another break, which I believe will be to the upside. All right, but looking at the oscillators here, I've got the Lux Algo Matrix, and this is the very, very bullish part of sideways consolidation, which is what we're in now. The bullish part is it allows the oversold oscillators to reset. So while we were very oversold back here in November, when after the news of the Donald Trump's election, we got very overbought. Did I say oversold? I meant to say overbought. We got very, very overbought during that period of volatility, and we never really got back down below that 50 line. That's what happens when Bitcoin keeps going higher and higher and higher. You don't get a full reset of the hyperwave. Well, now we've not only gotten below the 50 line here on the daily chart for the Lux Algo Oscillator Matrix, we've also found a reversal here down right around 30, okay, and got some reversal candy here. So to me, this is not quite convincing yet that the testing to the downside or the trending below the midline of the Bollinger Band is over. I think both of those will continue, and that is mostly because of the downtrending money flow here. Okay, so those are really kind of what's convincing me that we're not going to necessarily go lower than 85. I think that's going to be kind of our lower limit. And to get down to 85, that would be a flash move. That's not going to be something that we see a bunch of candlesticks coming down and closing around that level. That's going to be probably in one day as a result of one headline or one big cluster of whale moves. And that is going to be in short order, right? But I do think that we will stay on we will spend the majority of the time below the midline of the Bollinger Band, as we potentially even trade in a tight channel from 100,000 down to this uptrending line of support. Okay, so that's kind of my take. We'll see, because a lot of pressure will be building during this period of time, and so just as we consolidate, and now that we're consolidating further, even within a consolidation, there could be some big pressurized moments that hopefully give us movements to the upside, but for you more experienced traders and investors, hopefully give you moments to the downside for those limit orders to execute and get some discounted Bitcoin. But that's Bitcoin, and that's not all we're going to talk about today, but I do want to talk about another very important coin, and that's Ethereum. And as you can see, Ethereum here, right around $3,333 per Ethereum. Very, very cool. This was the levels. This was around the level area that we shot up to on mid-November. November 12th is when we traded around here, and then we had a retracement to the downside, and that's when the market realized, okay, Ethereum's for real now. It's not just a big jump breaking out of this line of resistance. This is a significant jump, and then it found support higher than that resistance, and now we've moved higher. And that's really bullish for Ethereum, I would say. And now folks are thinking that we could be forming an inverse head and shoulders here that would allow Ethereum to move much, much higher. Breaking through this golden pocket is going to be key for Ethereum. It's not been able to do this, and it's failed once here in early December 6th, and then failed here again back in December 16th. Not even really getting a candlestick close on the daily chart, even in that area, that 4,000 area, only really wicking that high. So again, you'll notice if I turn off this trend-based Fibonacci, you'll also notice here that, like Bitcoin, we are trading below the midline of the Bollinger Band, something we haven't seen significant action since early November, since that result of the 2024 American elections. So that's a little bit of Ethereum, a little bit of Bitcoin. We'll look at the oscillators real quick. It's about the same as what we saw in Bitcoin over here, although the money flow is much less. It's much lower, I should say, but it is moving sideways here. It's a little bit more plateaued than Bitcoin, so potentially more buyers or less money flowing out of Ethereum at this point in time. Hard to say though. Hard to say just from this specific indicator. All right. Well, that's gonna do it. Again, overall on the day, crypto is pretty red. You're seeing it in your accounts. We're seeing it here on the charts, and we're seeing it a little bit in the news. But I will say, Crux, we're going to move into our analysis here on Ondo. Should we be expecting to see a hot swap between Ondo and Bitcoin? Should folks be fearing this unlock that's going to be coming up just in January 18th. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from today being October 26th, just the day after Christmas. Should folks be worried about this, and should they potentially be swapping for Bitcoin right now to sidestep the downward pressure of this unlock? Crux, let's get into it, and interested to try and answer this question for folks listening at home.
All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna quickly talk about Bitcoin right before I jump into this Ondo breakdown. So I definitely like the ascending channel that you had drawn out. If we look at 4 years ago, December 26th of 2020, right? So Bitcoin was about 25,000, maybe a little bit over, and we're so far ahead, right? 2017 was whenever Bitcoin was around 20K. So we barely just now breaking into all-time highs, right? We broke into all-time highs this cycle back in March of this year. So I think a lot of people, they're expecting us to continue to go up and right, but you have to remember that cooling off, especially going in these sideways channels, is very bullish during a bull market. So it allows us to set in support in case we start going back to the downside, and I'm very bullish on the overall scope of things. But jumping into Ondo, so we see that there's going to be a $3 billion unlock coming soon, January 18th of next year. That's about 3 weeks from now. And this is going to be about 20% of the total tokens unlocked. And this will be to a couple different groups, right? You have early investors that were able to invest into Ondo at 2 cents, right? We know that it's at this point, it's around 80x from where they're able to get in. So you can expect these people to take profits, which is typically bearish. But let me go ahead and cool that news off by showing you guys what the vesting schedule looks like. So we see the ecosystem has been releasing the tokens since its inception, right? You have linear unlocks. This means whenever unlock happens, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens over the length of a specific duration, but it's divided by however long that's going to be. So, for example, we've had a linear unlock going for about 5 years now, and that should end in about January 2029. The big unlock that's going to happen in January, next year, that's going to be a 3 year linear unlock. However, we see that it's going to go to different groups. We just talked about the private sales are going to be the people that got into Ondo at 2 cents and they're going to take profits. That being said, it's a linear unlock of up to 3 years, and then we also know that it's not going to be a massive. So I mean, it is 130% of what's currently in circulation, but again, it's not going to be a massive portion of that unlock itself. And then whatever that portion is going to be divided into 3 years. So, yeah, moving on. Kind of, this should help break it down. So every day, unlock, has been, or Ondo rather, has been unlocking 0.004% of its market cap, and this is going towards the community access sale. So every single day, Ondo unlocks tokens. January 18th, we see 134% of the market cap will be released, which will be a little bit under 20% of the max supply. And breaking this down, 15% of that unlock goes to ecosystem growth. And then you have also protocol development, which is going to be the highest unlock. Next, we have private sales. This is where we're going to have the issue of that sell off of people that got in at 2 cents. But we know that this 25% is going to be broken up into 3 years, right? And then obviously each month is going to be whenever they'll most likely be selling off. So that being said, I think it's the news was definitely inflated to be much bigger, as if 25% of this unlock is going to go all on day one. And I'm just here to, kind of cool it off a little bit, tell people, this is going to be a linear unlock within 3 years. Don't expect a huge sell off on January 18th. That's just whenever it starts. So and also going into January 18th, 2026, January 18th, 2027. And I believe that might be, okay, so we have 2028 and 2029. So these are all going to be yearly unlocks. So there won't be another actual unlock until another large unlock until a year later, and every year preceding that up until 2028.
Gotcha. Okay, well, hey, look, I really appreciate that breakdown, Crux, bringing it to us. I'm going to pull up the charts here as well, and look at Ondo charts. But I want to see what's going on with the chat. So there was a couple of chatters here. Veteran Crypto said the unlock is over a long period of time. That is the main takeaway to take away from this conversation and this deeper dive into the unlock for Ondo. We've been getting a lot of questions about this, about the Ondo unlock. Most folks are a little bit fearful that the Ondo they're holding now may be worth less. And since it has had such a good 2024, should they go ahead and take profits? I'll give you guys my take on this on the other side of the charts. Pew Pew Cruz said, "Who in their right mind would swap for Bitcoin?" All right. Well, there's some Bitcoin maxis out there who, of course, they would swap it. All right. So let's jump over to my chart here. But Crux, thank you so much, and we may refer back to some of that information here in just a second. But the main takeaway is what Veteran Crypto said. The unlock is over a long time, and all of that is going to be distributed linearly over a period of time. Is not all of it is going to go to folks who are likely to sell. Only those initial investors, those VCs, are the ones who are going to take profits on like what it's around an 80x that they've made. Those guys, I don't blame them. They're going to take profits, but they're only going to get their profit-taking opportunities over a period of time. Okay, and it's only 25% of the total unlock. Okay, so again, all of these facts are really, really important to kind of take in and understand. As you're making decisions here. We're not telling you what to do, but we're presenting you with the information, and then we'll give you an idea of what we're going to do. So overall here, you have seen a pretty ominous pattern forming for Ondo. Definitely not the pattern you'd want to see, but a little bit of a head and shoulders type of action here that is resulting in a downward move. Even currently with this candlestick that we are on for the daily chart here, that is currently down about 10%, right? So a lot of traders will have been rewarded for noticing this pattern and trying to sell on the downtrend of this shoulder. But is this reminiscent? Is this setting the tone of what we're going to see for Ondo into 2024, or will we find support somewhere before we go much, much lower? Well, the first line of support is coming up, right? We have not been able to hold the platinum pocket here. So likely, in my opinion, I think the golden pocket is probably next, and this is what will hold. It held back here in early December. You'll see this wick here, held pretty well there. And this would put Ondo right around $1.33, and at the low end, $1.30 or $1.29 and some change. So, that's where I would expect us to find support next up. If I turn off that Fibonacci, which by the way, that's a trend-based Fibonacci going back to the low of February of this year, and then drawing the rest of the Fibonacci. You may not use this very often, right? But this is something that I do like to use. This is the trend-based Fibonacci. Okay, but let's take a look at what Lux Algo is seeing when it comes to Ondo's daily chart. Because Lux Algo really opens the doors to what we can see. And as you see right off the bat, here on the daily chart, the smart trail has flipped, right? So that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see the smart trail flipping and then a sell rating here from Lux Algo, right? That's bearish. That's bearish for the short to midterm. Okay. So that is essentially, and then we do see a take profit suggestion here from Lux Algo at 133, which I believe does coincide pretty well with that golden pocket. It does. So 133 is probably where I'm expecting Ondo to find some pretty significant support. Let's see if that coincides with any historic levels. Yeah, that roughly coincides here with maybe the second layer of support that came in. The initial one is where we're fighting right now. With these previous candlesticks back here that closed right around 144. Okay, so that's where we are now. Again, I think 133 is likely to be hit before this reverses. All right, let's see if we have any liquidity that's just coming in from. Yeah, so this liquidity starts right around that 138, plays through to 133, and does come all the way down to 129. Again, coinciding with that golden pocket quite nicely again. So confluence of support for Ondo. All right, so I don't know that I need to find some levels so much anymore because I have pretty strong confluence there with 130 being the lowest and 133 kind of being the most consistent there. What I am noticing is that like Bitcoin and like Ethereum, we do have a pretty good hyperwave that's been reset very effectively. Now, unlike Bitcoin, we have not gotten a reversal, right? And that's, that would be that would be a lot of what I need to say the hot swap would not be on for Ondo, right? Is that right now, while Bitcoin has reversed and price has kind of stayed elevated, Ondo is actually continuing to make a move to the downside. Now, you might conclude, wait, actually I should swap. No, the correct answer is you should have swapped in the past, right? Now, if you're still holding Ondo, it's better to just keep holding it. And I would argue it's better in a bull market not to swap pretty much at all. Now, of course, we talk about Bitcoin dominance, we talk about altcoin season, so there's a very strong argument to be made that at some point, right, you do swap some Bitcoin for altcoins in preparation for altcoin season, which I would say is right around now. Right, and so that's why we're asking the question, is the hot swap on? I would say that the swap is actually not from Ondo into Bitcoin, but it's actually from Bitcoin into Ondo in preparation from that Ondo for that altcoin season. Now, Crux, I see you shaking your head yes. Is that pretty much how you're feeling as well?
Yeah, I think Ondo's much better pickup opportunity than Bitcoin. We see that, I think 11 days ago, Ondo is down almost 30% at this point. And if we look at 108K to Bitcoin's current price, you're looking at closer to 10%. So just like you said, you should have already taken profits if you're going to do so. That being said, if I have dry powder, I'm buying Ondo. I'm already thinking that from this point on, we're headed into the most bullish part of a bull run, which is the year preceding Bitcoin's halving. That being said, alts with lower caps typically move much more to the upside and downside than Bitcoin does. And if we know if next year is going to be a bullish year, then alts are typically the better buying opportunity as long as it's a good quality play. So Ondo actually currently makes up my fourth biggest bag. And if you want to share my screen, Tshroom, I'll go ahead and explain why. I'm going to do a quick breakdown for those that don't really understand what Ondo is, but it's more like your tradition. Think of like real world assets, but on the traditional, like monetary side. So we know stuff like Mantra exists, which I'm very bullish on Mantra, but you're looking at more like real estate, diamonds, gold, etc. Ondo Finance is looking at more towards just stable yields. That being said, we can already see that there's a little bit of discrepancy. So this post right here was launched in September of earlier this year, where OUSG, which is their main product, this is whenever you hear like BlackRock backs Ondo, it's actually OUSG. Their product is being backed by one of their funds, right? And it was offering 5.35% earlier this year. But if I look currently on the website, it's offering a 4.37% yield on this product. So you have a token that's backed by short-term U.S. Treasuries, to include, a few other things, so Treasury bills, and then BlackRock as well, their funds. And you can see this thing goes up and to the right, and it also compounds. So it's a very solid product to hold, but we see that it's not exactly the most stable. I do think up and to the right is much better than down and to the right. And this chart right here is the US dollar's purchasing power over time. So if I know that my product that I'm doing is gaining momentum and I'm swapping my fiat currency or the US dollar, to me it feels good. I feel like OUSG, Ondo, and BlackRock are definitely they're making the right plays, and I'm super bullish on Ondo. And also the last note is USDY, which is kind of like USDC or USDT, your stable coin on Ondo. They're offering a 4.65% APY. So that's accessible as well. I think Ondo's here to stay, and very bullish on this. I think a very good accumulation zone exists right now.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, we talked about some lower levels for Ondo, 130 kind of being the lowest, not the lowest it could go, but that's a comfortable price to probably start buying back in to Ondo. We talked about some of the fundamentals there of what it actually is, and we talked about the hot swap. Should you be selling your Ondo to buy Bitcoin? I would say that, since we saw pretty good confirmation that altcoin season is beginning, or even has started, the gun may have already fired. It's a little bit difficult to, ascertain if it has or not. We're not going to cover that in depth today. But actually, the swap would be Bitcoin into Ondo for gains, right? For stability, you stay in Bitcoin. And I would say if you're newer to crypto in general, I'm pretty well known as saying just stay in Bitcoin if you're newer to crypto. Getting into Ondo, I think it's a pretty good time once the price gets back down around $1.33, maybe down $1.30 if you can get lucky and get it down there. However, that's for folks who are a little more comfortable with Bitcoin, with crypto, and have been in the markets for a little while. All right. So we said this was going to be a shorter show. It is. Let's go ahead and get into some of the news that's moving markets over the weekend. Well, not over the weekend. It's midweek. It was over Christmas. Felt like the weekend. Which, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hopefully you had a great, great holiday and spent some time with family. Let's get into it here. Japan rejects strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal, citing volatility, lack of info, and legal concerns. This headline sticks out to me because we've been seeing so many countries, states, and corporations considering Bitcoin strategic reserves and coming out on the affirmative or having champions within them, as in the case of France and Germany, politicians who are championing the idea of a Bitcoin reserve. The other ones that stick out to me as rejecting would be Microsoft. Amazon kind of hasn't made the decision quite yet, but it also has had this idea presented before it. So Japan coming in, I believe it's in the top 5 world financial markets. So this is a little bit of a heavier blow to the momentum that's been building. But this is, again, kind of goes to show how important this day is over here when Donald Trump gets inaugurated. Because guess who the world does not follow? Japan. The world follows the United States. And when Donald Trump gets in on January 20th, and then that day or the next day or the next 5 days, whatever it's going to be, he makes Bitcoin, he puts Bitcoin into the strategic reserve. That is going to be significant, right? And other countries may follow. And there may also be more countries that pop up on a list that are already considering doing it, or have major politicians that are running for the top office who want to do it. Not to mention state governors such as Florida, Texas, Michigan, I believe, and cities such as New Jersey and Miami, right? So it's all building and it's all moving in the right direction. January 20th, an important day. So long, Japan. See, it was nice to know you, and we'll be seeing you in the rearview mirror back in TradFi world as we're all getting rich in the financial future. All right, just kidding. This one's a little bit more dense. We'll get into it quickly here, but it is something to note. The 10-year note yield is now up 100 basis points since the Fed's pivot began in September. I'll go through this pretty quickly, but what you'll notice here, actually there was a better graphic over on Zero Hedge. Let me see if I can find that one really quickly here for you all. But actually, forget even that. I'll just make it a very quick summary for you all. The 10-year is really supposed to keep pace with what the Fed rate does, with the federal funds rate. And it seems to have recently been doing the opposite, right? So not what you would want to see. This is the 10-year against the federal funds rate. Upper band, okay, going since December of 2023 at the very end of the left-hand side of your screen. But as you can see, there's been a divergence recently, and that divergence is that the 10-year is defying the Fed. This is pretty rare that there's a defiance at all, but it's also the most pronounced that this defiance has been. Now, what does this mean? I'm going to go over to the 10-year very, very quickly here. You guys know that I will show bonds. We're one of the only crypto channels that get down into the macroeconomics of it all. As you can see, the 10-year Treasury yields, they were around this high back in April of 2024, but the federal funds rate was also higher than where we are now, right? Because they've had a mega cut, a 50 basis point cut in September, and then 25 basis cuts since then, right? You would think that since before September, that this chart would essentially look like this, just just coming down, 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 down. But no, instead there has been support that was found here at 3%, 6. That level doesn't really matter as much as the direction since then. Since the support is found, it's pretty much gone straight up, with this exception here after the election when it got arguably overheated. What does this mean? Why do you care? Why should you care? Because this ultimately shows me that markets do not want to hold government bonds. They do not want to hold them regardless of the fact that the yields are actually climbing, right? The yield is an incentive for you to buy into it and get free money, free fixed income, just for holding the bond, which is backed by the United States. Okay, so this is not great for the bond markets, but it is great for the risk markets, which presumably all of the money that would be going into the bonds that is not, and that in effect is boosting the yields. That money is going somewhere, and my argument is that it's in cash right now, and it's waiting to go into a rotation into Bitcoin. That is the true hot swap, is out of bonds, out of fixed income, and even out of real estate and into Bitcoin. Of course, there will be some who agree with me, like Michael Saylor, and there will be those who doubt it. All right, let's check in on the next headline here. Russia says it is using Bitcoin for international payments, creating more demand for Bitcoin as what is quickly becoming not just the native asset of the Bitcoin blockchain, but the native asset of the world. All right, and this will be our last headline here. Public company KULR stock has risen over 312% since announcing a Bitcoin Treasury Reserve strategy on December 4th. So very, very bullish for KULR. Should we take a look at it? Let's do it. Boom. Let's take a look at this stock here. And indeed, this looks quite bullish. So it started off as an unknown company down here at 35 cents. And it is now blasted off 1,400% up to about $5. But it did go, but that's if you go all the way back to the end of November. It looks like some people kind of front run that announcement of it buying Bitcoin. And since the announcement, it's been up quite well too. Up, like the article says, 300%. So, bros, you're coming off of the holidays. You got a full tummy like I am. Keep trucking through that turkey. Keep trucking through those leftovers. And rest assured that although we're seeing a significant pullback for Bitcoin, the reason why it feels so significant is because we got so high up, right? We moved so quickly out of that trend that we had been in since March, right? That it just feels so painful to go down after a 56% move to go down 15%, right? But the good news is my hunch tells me that actually a lot of the pain is mostly over, and that we're going to stay in this channel until the inauguration, right? Now this may not be the best news for altcoins, and for altcoin season, I should say. But when bullishness returns to the market, when do many altcoin seasons happen? When do altcoin pumps happen? Is when Bitcoin is sideways. Well, I predict that from now until the inauguration, Bitcoin will be mostly sideways within a channel, right? And there will be times when bullishness returns back to the market and money pours back into the market. And I think that as long as Bitcoin is sideways, we should be seeing this chart have some very, very big green days. Now I don't know that means that Ethereum, right, which is kind of an overall indicator for altcoins in one sense, I don't know that means Ethereum gets up, to its all-time highs, back up above 4,800. I don't know if we see that before, in tandem with the inauguration, January 20th. That's not what I'm saying, but I do think that there could be some movements on the altcoin side that do get Ethereum back up to maybe 4,000 by that inauguration, which could bode very well for the rest of the altcoins. So That's going to do it for today. I hope that you all have had a great, great Christmas and that you spent some time with family. I'll leave you all with one note, but I want to allow Crux to give some thoughts, and then we'll end the show off. So, Crux, what are your thoughts here for folks moving into Friday, moving into the weekend after filling their bellies with yummy holiday treats?
Yeah, so I know you guys hear it a lot, when in doubt, zoom out. We're exactly where we need to be. It's okay to be confused. You have the largest asset under management companies in the world that are not even settled on this product or on this asset yet. You have, BlackRock, which obviously has accepted Bitcoin. Then you have Vanguard, which is right behind BlackRock, and they're taking more of a conservative approach, and then if we look at the next three, so State Street, Morgan Stanley, and one other one, I forgot which one, they're all starting to lean more towards Bitcoin. But if the smartest minds in the world are not even settled on this yet, then it's okay for you as an individual to not fully understand it yet. And then always diversify. I think right now is a good period in time to be swapping some of your Bitcoin out for alts, because we are within that 4-year cycle that we talk about oftentimes on this show. And then lastly, it is Christmas. The day after Christmas, but New Year's is right around the corner. We're around our family and friends, and enjoy the moments that you have. We will be back stronger than ever next week. We're still here, and we'll be live tomorrow as well. And then so definitely good to see the bros here supporting us. So
For sure, for sure, for sure. Yep, absolutely. So, that's actually a good point. So, this weekend we will have a show on Saturday at 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in. But Crux, some very good words there. I'll just close out by saying this. Look, you're coming off the holidays, right? You're probably a little bit distracted from work. This is a good time to just kind of self-reflect and form some of those goals. There's a reason why there's a kind of a ritual, at least here in the United States, to try to form some New Year's resolutions, right? A lot of people want to lose weight. A lot of people want to, spend more time with family and things like that. It's a good time. It doesn't mean that you have to, just keep these rules up the whole year, but it's a good time to kind of self-reflect. Where were some of the ways that you were kind of disappointed in yourself this year? Did you maybe make some bad financial decisions, or maybe some poor relational decisions? Maybe putting your ego, your pride, kind of before the needs of others. Just self-reflect. And if anything that I've said kind of resonates with you, that's okay. No need to get angry. Just think about how maybe you can improve in the year to come. All right. With that said, we are the Investing Bros, and we are excited to bring. Oh, look how low I am on this one. We're very excited to bring you all this information. So make sure that if you enjoyed this, you smash the like button and consider subscribing. And we will go live tomorrow and Saturday. And then on Monday, we will be back with the bearded wonder, none other than Tim. So we'll be back with Tim, and we'll be getting it, and we'll be making it happen for you. And that'll be an exciting time. It'll be real nice for Tim to be back to set us straight on where these levels are actually going to be. All right. Adios, bros. Have a great rest of your week.